Happy Saturday. Should I start that again? I swear to you, this is just water in this glass. Happy Sunday, y'all. Oh, man. It's been a long week, huh? How are you all doing? I hope everybody is doing great. There we go. Everyone is doing great today. I love today because it actually feels like fall. It's my favorite season, so I love fall. So, oh my God, you look gorgeous. Hey, honey.
It's all for you.
Gosh. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so good. I didn't even get a chance to, I was just like, oh, it's, hi, Reg. How are you? Blessed afternoon to you too, hon. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so, it's so fall-like outside. I'm feeling,
It is. We had a good walk this morning.
I am feeling the fall. So it's Sunday. I started off by saying happy Saturday. So I promise you, my brain is here.
I love it.
I know. So welcome to Motivating the Motivator for you, for everybody that's tuning in. As you know, every week, hi, Auntie. That's my new soror, my auntie. Love her. So it's today is today. Every time I do this show, I'm thrilled and I'm happy. I have people on that just make me feel so. So today we have Victoria Hepburn. She is an author. I'm so excited we're going to talk about that part. She's an author. She is a coach, a life coach, and a business coach. And I'm going to tell you this. I used her, oh my God, like 4, 5, was it 5? I think it was that long ago, like 5 years ago. And within 3 months of using her services, actually less than that, people started to see this huge shift in the way I was promoting things and how I was speaking and stuff. And they were like, what are you doing? So she helped me so much. So that's just the business part. As a person, as an individual, as a human, I love her tremendously. We've been around each other for a minute, and I guess we'll get into that because your assignment was to remember how we met, because I'm so not 100% good at that. You've just always been around.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. I don't know. I think at this point we will we'll figure it out. we're gonna figure it out a little something. So everyone, welcome to the screen, the stage, the platform.
Okay, Max just said fix your screen. Me or Latifa?
Oh, that's my aunt. Yeah, who's fixing the screen, Auntie? And what are we fixing? Okay.
What did I think? Because this is my first time.
I know. So let's talk about you. Hey, everybody, welcome Victoria Hepburn to the stage. Hi, honey. I know.
Yeah, I do that.
How are you, sweetie?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here and just to be in your community and everything else, because the ladies you've had on are just like, they blew me away. So just in their stories and their life path. So I'm humbled to be here.
Oh, thank you. Well, you may be humbled, but you're pretty freaking fabulous. So that's what we're going to be talking about and what we're going to be getting into today.
Thanks.
Yes. So first things first. Okay. Were you able to get your assignment together?
I did. Okay.
But it's funny. How did we meet, though? I just feel like we've always been in each other's lives in a certain way, but how did we meet?
Okay. So I know it was through yoga, because you were like the fitness director and there was a flaky yoga teacher at one gym, and you subbed one class, and I would always go to the gym to like zone out my day, because I'm one of those people whose minds just go a million miles an hour, and I need to like stop it, like stop the freight train that's running constantly, right? And that's why I would go to yoga, and the flake didn't show up, and you did a class, and I was so in my body. I was so in my breath. I was like, who is this woman? I think that's what happened. And then after that, we, talking after class, and you were doing different things. And I was just like, I'm about this life. And I was I think it was from fitness, through like yoga and fitness. And then of course, like I started going to your boot camp and dragging people. So I think it started there. But it was really your philosophy of life just like drew me in, because you're all about that tough love that I love. Like, you have to, there's a strain and a struggle to life that gives us all the nurturing and the good as well. So I just appreciated your worldview and your energy and you just the Latifa-ness, the regal, denser
Oh
elegance.
my God. See, this is supposed to be about you. Stop talking about me.
I can't help it.
But see, this is why I'm always like, you are so freaking motivational. You are just, no matter what, it's just, there's so much goodness about Victoria Hepburn. And who exactly is Victoria Hepburn?
Who knows?
I feel like Barbara Walters. And who is Victoria? Who are you?
I would say I like, first and foremost, I have to answer how my maternal grandmother used to answer. I'm a child of God first, right? I believe like through all things are possible. I believe in miracles. I believe in earth angels, and I believe in our innate power to connect with people, whether we know them or not, whether we get along with them or not. I just, that's who I am as a person. I believe in infinite possibilities and all that other stuff. That being said, I also believe in very concrete things. I'm a researcher. I'm a reader. I love data. I love analytics. Charts make me happy. So
Yeah.
it's that duality.
That's where she and I go like this.
But how do you know if you don't track it? That's basically how my mind works. So,
Yeah.
and I just love knowing that I'm always one moment or one chunk of knowledge away from the next evolution. Because you know how they say we're all going to have multiple careers in our life? I feel like I've been multiple people in my life. And I have a funny story about that. If you want to go down a really funny journey that includes my eclectic musical taste. So me and my best friend, I think it was last year, we're at a concert. And the headliner, it was an old school concert, and the headliner was New Kids on the Block. I think Tiffany, Debbie Gibson were there, and Salt and Pepper were there, Naughty by Nature was there. Oh. And as the process of going through all of that music, I realized, like, oh my God, I was X age when this happened. I was X age when this was popular. And I realized, wow, I'm so not that person anymore. So, like, I was sitting there as a new mother at the time. I had given birth to my son like less than a few months prior. And I was just thinking, whoa, just in the last 3 months, I just entered a whole new phase of my life. And it unfolds. And you see how time sometimes seems to drag. Sometimes it seems really slow, but it was just one of those moments where I just had that like a matrix moment, I call it, when you have that, like, I know Kung Fu, I know these things. Oh my God, yeah. This greater awareness unlocks.
Wow. Yeah. That's so true though. Because we always say, different people. And you aren't the same person you were, thank God, when that music was out.
No, ma'am. Well, I think one of the New Kids on the Block songs took me back to 6th grade. Like, it was like crazy just how far back in the Wayback Machine I went.
But it's so funny because let's say 16 or 6 or whatever, 16, you graduate from high school at 16.
Yes.
Yep. So graduate from high school at 16 and then enter college. But where'd you grow up? Let's get into
New York City. Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan. We lived a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
New Yorkers, yeah.
Yeah, and just tell them a little bit more about you, because I know what I know about your life. So just to let people know, because this conversation and this platform is all about journeys.
Okay.
And having people understand all the various journeys that make these phenomenal women I've had on here phenomenal. There was always this journey, this coming up from somewhere. Yes. So where's your come up from?
Okay, my come up is rooted deeply in a village of amazing women and men in my family, as well as their families of choice, the friends that they kept around them. So yeah, growing up in New York City, from a middle class kind of upbringing and a very educated group of people. And also with exposure to people in politics, people in powerful positions, and very much rooted in community outreach and volunteerism, and not just rising yourself up by helping others, that they weren't mutually exclusive or something you did when you had time. It was embedded in our lives. And I think that was the biggest takeaway of my childhood and what created who I am was because I had all these adults not just telling me what to do, but showing me what it is to be active in the community. Like, I never went to a march or a rally as a kid, right? Even though they existed. And there were a lot of things that went sideways in 80s and 90s New York that people marched for, right? But we did do a lot of work. Like my grandmother, my maternal grandmother had a joke that the reason why she was so active in this one community service group, Key Women of America, was because she met the founder in prison. Now, it's a funny thing to say because you look at my grandmother, she's all professional and everything else. She worked as a social worker in the prison. And then the founder of the organization was helping the women have enough money to have enough stamps and things so they could send notes home to their families. So it's like the little things like that, like that, you know, they had some kind of like psychic connection and they worked together and built up so much for children and families across New York City. The organization grew. You know, it even had branches in Indianapolis and their branches down south. Like in their lifetime, they did all these things rooted in service to the community and uplifting children. I benefited from a scholarship from that organization, you know, and they had a music scholarship because not everybody is academics and nerdy like me. Like, and I got to see some of the most amazing child performers you have ever seen, like pre-internet. Because of that program, they would acknowledge people. She also created a school, Key Child Development Center. And these are all things that came from a woman who had to work in a laundry to go to school in segregated Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And she would not tell us a lot of the stories. She just said, I went to Stillman and then I made it up north. I took a few classes at Rutgers while I worked as a nanny and domestic. And then I came to New York City. And then she pieced a life together as an educator. And then, so that, she was one of my biggest, strongest role models, my mother's mother, because she was always in our life, her and my aunt, my mom's sister. And my dad's family also were these huge beacons of what is possible if you just stay true to your vision, if you stay true to the talents and the gifts that God has given you. So that is really where I came from. I mean, if you look on paper, I definitely like had a lot of advantages, like, you know, on paper, but I also had a lot of disadvantages in that, you know, I lost my dad young, my parents divorced when I was young, you know, so single parent, you know, all the things that people say are the harbingers of doom for Black children. I wasn't at the effect of that because of this amazing village. And my grandparents and my parents had huge amounts of family. So we always were in other people's lives. We were always seeing like Black excellence. I got to see Asian excellence, white excellence, because of their networks of amazing and talented people. So I guess the takeaway for me is just like for my son, there's so many wonderful people in our lives that like you, like in our families. Like I want him to be exposed to all those amazing people so he can have the benefit of learning by observing excellence and greatness, seeing how hard you have to work to get all that stuff. Like, I feel like that's the piece that's missing in our celebrity culture. Like, we don't ever see the people, like, we always see the overnight sensations who worked for 20 years.
Right. And they're like, yes, I made a movie and now I'm a big star. It's like, no, you've been doing off Broadway plays in your grandmother's backyard before you got to this. And I love how you mention community and that you're like all the things that, you know, are supposed to be the things that make us not great or whatever. It's like, oh, single mom and the blah, blah, blah. And it's like one thing that people don't understand is a lot more of who you are than people want to give credit to, because there's a billion single moms out there, but you know what? There's a village.
Yep.
There's a village that helps them. Those single moms are doing what they have to do. They pull in who they need. There's villages to help raise our children, and it still exists. It doesn't seem as prevalent as it was before, but it still exists. So I love that you mentioned that, because that's all part of the journey too.
Yes.
And just talking about your grandparents, and your grandmother's so dope, but just talk, and I've already met your Auntie Joan.
Yes. She's amazing. Yeah.
She's amazing. I love her. By the way, next time you speak to her, tell her from me.
Yeah, so she's a part of an amazing arc of my family who, because you know how like when you go to college, when you're like the lone Black person in a class, everybody's like, oh, I'm the first in my family to go to college or at graduation. And I'm like,
It's like,
no, I'm like
no.
the fifth or sixth to go through NYU. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
no, it's like,
Yeah,
it's just amazing to like have amazing people in my life who both educate and uplift and help me understand the world. I
yeah.
think that's really what it's about.
And so it's not, so your journey was the observation of the people around you, the
Yeah.
greatness and just the ebbs and flows of how they run their lives, how all the people that they bring into your life.
Yes.
I love that. That's how we have to continue to do for our children. That's the only way things will get, whether it's getting better or whether just to keep civilization going, damn it. We just need to do those things for our children just to
Yeah.
make sure. And you
Well,
mentioned
for ourselves too, right? We need variety. We're humans. We like interesting people. Like I'm a little unique. I like strangers and their stories a little more than most people. Hence
I
my
do
travel and
too.
sales career.
I
And
do. I do too.
I love talking with people and finding out like just their journey, because people are never one thing. They're never who you expect just from looking at them. And
Right.
it's so I've had so much in common with like people who look like the polar opposite of me, like 30 years older and gray hair and whole different ethnicity and
Yeah.
rural backgrounds. And it just blows me away every time. I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but I am. Like how wonderful it is.
I
That
think it should
feeling.
always surprise you. It should always, if it always surprises you, you never lose the wonder of life.
Hmm.
You never lose that little bit of something that just, um, you know, when I had my son, and you might feel this way too about, oh, you're sweet, sweet. He's such a sweetie. But when you have your child and they start to get to a certain age, or if you have nephews and nieces or children around you, and you just really get involved in their lives, you start to see the world the way they do a little bit. And it's always this wonder and this amazement. And, once we get older, we kind of lose all that. But I hope you never lose that. I hope you always continue to say, wow, I'm just always like amazed by, I think you should be. I think it's wonderful because that means we're always seeking something that's just so great and so miraculous and so beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I almost lost it in my corporate career because
Let's
I was,
talk about your corporate career. Let's do that.
so we'll
Let's do
talk
that.
about that. Yeah. So when I was in corporate, like you have to do so much to assimilate, right? You know,
Hmm.
how you dress, how you
Yeah.
talk, you have to do all these unwritten rules, right? Everybody who's in corporate knows you don't show fear. You don't show, for women especially, you don't show emotion. Like it's not acceptable.
It is so
You,
not
and
acceptable.
you have to be a team player, and you always have to be focused on the bottom line. You have to be omnipresent almost, I feel, on your phone, on the interwebs at all hours of the day and night. So I got so run down at various intervals. I was in this like stress burnout cycle that like my friends pointed out, I was not myself. I wasn't happy. Like we went
Mhm.
on a vacation. We were in the islands, and Caribbean music is playing, and you know how I like to break into dance at a moment's notice in the
Anything.
class, right? I'm just like, I just start moving, and I didn't do anything when the music started playing. She's like, my friend was like, looked me dead in the eye and said, you really need to change how you're living your life, because this isn't you. This isn't who you are. And I'm blessed to have deep, wonderful friendships like that where people will just tell me. And it made me look inside really hard and find out, like, what am I not doing that I used to do? And it was sleep, nutrition, fitness, and mindfulness practices, fun. I would cancel on everything in my life because work kept popping up. And I had to go to this, I had to get on this plane and go here. I had to do this. Oh, I think my climax of just work-related bad decisions were when my sales manager at the time, there was a last-minute team meeting in Europe. And it was the exact same week as my cousin's wedding in Jamaica. And I had already paid for that. I was planning on going that. The time off was in the books. And he said, well, I know you had time off, but it's a career decision if you don't go. And he intimated it was a career decision, not because like people have never missed those kind of meetings before. It's because I was the only Black person in a sea of everybody else, and everybody always noticed I was missing from things. Like if I was like on a call with a customer and I wasn't in the team meeting, they'd be like, "Hey, where's Victoria?" Like that's just automatic because it's like that old children's television workshop thing. One of these things is not like the other. And they would just be like, "Oh, Victoria's missing." Okay, like people would notice because they're, it's not because I have a big personality or anything else. I was just like, wow. So my career is in jeopardy just because I don't look like everybody else and I can't just slink out. Like that was like my line where I was like, okay, I have to rethink how I'm doing this. Like I can't quit my job. I can't not do what I loved my job. I just wanted to actually spend time with my friends and family, and I knew I had to re-engineer my life. So that it's just I had to keep repeating those like stress cycles and then rebuilding and then stress cycle and rebuilding until I realized, wait, it's fundamentally I have to put up a structure and for this to stop. Like I'm going to keep repeating, I'm going to keep being stuck on stupid, as I called it, until I put something in place to stop it. So I did. It took me a lot of time and a lot of practice, but I did. So
yeah, you did. Is that how I pretty much know the answer to this question, but I'm pretty sure so much of all of that you put that into what you do now with the life coaching and the business coaching. And I already know it's all part of like all of that you bring into what you do now.
Yes. So that my corporate career gave me the benefit. I worked for some pretty major companies and I had, multi-million-dollar deals. I worked with a lot of brand name healthcare companies. I worked across teams across the US. I had customers all over the US and their partners and other business units in Europe and Japan. And I got to travel and meet with these people. And I also learned a lot about just how business works, right? So I had that business side. And I realized like a lot of entrepreneurs and individuals needed that support from a business coaching perspective. But what I learned is business is life and life is business. You don't just like put on your business hat for a little bit and then you step into your life hat. You kind of just pause business and live your life and then get back into it. Like it's a dance. There's no way of balancing it. It's a juggle or a dance for most people. So that's how that's my coaching style. It's informed by the fact that the business is going to need what it needs, right? In corporate, everybody has a boss. So we always have to have our eye to what's acceptable within our framework and create a plan that really is centered around that. Knowing, the challenges you have with this coworker, what can you do differently? Since unfortunately, none of us have a mute button for our coworker that gets on our nerves. Wouldn't that be great? None of us are the puppet master to get people to do exactly what they think is right. So, okay, knowing that that's not an option, what else can you do to get your vision forward, move your vision forward for your life, and for the business? So that's really where my coaching comes from, and the stress and the pressure that comes from just existing and caring about your work. Because I find that the people who actually care about their work, who care about doing a good job, are the most impacted by stress. I know I was, because the whole reason why I got a degree in chemical engineering and another degree in chemistry. You can see them back there. And the reason why I studied those things is because I wanted to make a difference in how we lived our lives. I was psyched. My first job out of college, I was making vaccines. So on my worst day, I was saving lives of babies and people all around the world, right? So like, you can't get mad at that, no matter how much your coworker yells at you, it's a good day, right? And across my career, I was on these project teams bringing new medications to life. Like we weren't just re-engineering the old stuff. They were doing brand new things, trying to lower costs, like all things that I'm 100% like here for in my personal life. I got to do that on this grand scale, working with this massive team. So I cared a lot. And because I cared, the disappointments, the slights, the insults, the disregard that you feel, and maybe it's also because of the intersectionality of being Black and female in male-dominated spaces. I'm not going to disallow that wasn't a factor as well, but just the stress, because I wasn't the only one stressing out. People who were cis white males were also like lack of sleep, poor diet, traveling a lot. We were all making kind of bad decisions because we weren't taking care of ourselves. We were all having silly arguments because we weren't taking care of ourselves. So, okay, how do we get these people who care so much to take care of themselves? That became the question for my coaching. How do we create space in our lives when we're so reactive? So those are the questions that I wanted to answer with my coaching and my programs. And over, like, when I worked with you, I was a baby coach. I was like newly minted and I was like ready to go.
No, it was part of your final. You needed to have what, 2 or 3 people? It was like, I'll do it. You're so damn dope anyway. I'll do it, whatever.
Yes, and I am incredibly grateful for
then. And I know you and I did this when you were just starting. Like, I was part of your final project kind of thing. But
yes.
even then, you were putting so much of yourself into it. And you were putting so much of your entire journey into what you were doing.
Yes. Because that's the gift of wisdom that was poured into me, because I was around my grandmother and all her people, right? My aunts and my mom, like their generation's wisdom. Like, why do we have to reinvent the wheel? If someone else went through it and we can learn from them, we can accelerate our process, right?
Definitely. Definitely. And that takes off a little bit of stress.
A little bit. It makes you feel superhuman.
I know.
Because that happened to me personally in my career. I had a mentor, like I was looking to apply to jobs when I was switching from engineering to sales. And my mentor, I said, well, there's these 3 jobs that I'm looking at, but this one is a higher level. I don't think I qualify for it. And he's like, apply anyway. What's the worst they're going to do? Say no?
Exactly.
And because it was 2 levels higher than the one that I was going for. And so I was like, okay. And I got it. I got actually both jobs that I applied to. And when I told him I got it, he's like, I knew it. He's like, once they meet you, they're going to know your sales personality. They're going to know you're smart enough to learn everything and unleash on the community. And he was a 15-year veteran. So I listened to him. I just listened. I just did it. I didn't think about it because I was like, in my 20s when I was just like, okay, let's try it. What's the worst that can happen was really my motto, and still is kind of. And it was amazing. And now I'm like, okay, so mentorship, that's awesome. I'm going to keep doing that. And across my career, even with coaching, I have a coach now because I want to get my business from just doing the one-on-one coaching. I want to scale it. I want to help more people, because there's so much, especially now in these times, there's so many people who are struggling and they feel lonely and that they're struggling alone. And I just want them to know they have resources. There's community out there. Right. And people to bring up their spirits, help them get back to who they were, to help them get back on their path.
Right. And people are shifting so much. And it's so funny because there's so many people that are shifting. But like you said, even with that, people still feel alone. Like, I'm shifting, everything's shifting, but I'm the only one. It's like we're all shifting. But sometimes it does take that individual attention to help, because even though we're all shifting in different ways.
Yes.
Completely different ways. Even if you're in the same industry, you can still be shifting in a totally different way.
Right. And we're all preparing for different next steps, right? Depending on your worldview, depending on your circumstances, right? What 6 months from now holds is dramatic. Like, what you're envisioning is dramatically different, right? For some people, it's like dancing in a springtime meadow, and for other people, it's like the apocalypse. Like, it depends.
Dancing in a springtime meadow. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I don't think any of my ships have been. There are no meadows that have been dancing in for my ship. Hasn't exactly been apocalyptic, but I don't see a meadow in mine.
Well, again, I love charts and graphs, right? So those are the extreme ends of my graph. Most of us are in the bell curve in the middle.
Yes. Give me that bell curve in the middle. That's right.
Yeah, we're in the middle, right?
Insert Latifah. But with all of the things that you're saying, they go with, I'm going to direct everyone's attention to all of the awards behind you. Because here's the thing. I won't tell you her story or anything, but she has all of those behind her. But first of all, this is one of the most humble people you've ever met. And all of her awards behind her are not so it's like, look at me, look at me. But okay, wait, I don't want to tell your story. So tell everybody why you keep your awards right there. It's funny because when we were setting up, I was like, she was like, oh, I don't know about having my degrees. I'll put them down. I said, no, you worked hard. Here's the thing. You work hard for these things. It's all good. You work hard. You didn't just, no one just sat you in a classroom and then was like, oh, you sat there, here's an A, here's an A, here's an A. No, you worked hard for everything you got back there. But I want you to talk about the awards. I mean, not just individually, but why they're there and what they mean to you.
Well, for me, I am like everyone else who achieves a little bit of something and they feel like, wow, I never envisioned myself to be on this path or at this level so quickly or in this way. So I get self-doubt. I start to question myself. And one of the best things I learned in all my research to get myself out of my burnout cycle, one of the strong things was having physical reminders of when you broke through and physical reminders of a successful point in your journey where you didn't know how it was going to turn out, but it turned out for the best. So these sales awards are from different companies I work for, like GE Healthcare and Becton Dickinson, BD. And they're for, my accomplishments, multi-million-dollar sales. I hit the goal or I exceeded the goal. I even have a picture of me crossing the stage with one of the GE GMs because I'm like everybody else. Like, I feel like, oh my God, I can't do this, or, oh, this is too big. This is too scary. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what people are going to think. Like, those things come up for me. I even have I have community service awards as well of things that I started and things that I was a part of that after I was super proud and amazed, right? But going into it, it was just, it was the unknown. It was just whatever we could piece together. So I have always needed to be reminded. And I don't, as you get older, unfortunately, how life works is you don't have the elders who nurtured you beyond a certain point in time. So you have to build that community of people to uplift you and to support you, who believe in you, who will reflect your magic back to you. And sometimes you have to be that person for yourself. And this is what helps me, is to stand on external third-party verification of my talent, either through a hard-fought science degree at one of the most competitive, some of the most competitive schools in the country, some of the most competitive companies in the country. Like, we had to stay the market. Like, the hardest part of working for these companies was they were the market, at the time, they were the market leaders for whatever we were doing. So if you didn't do your job well, the company went downhill. It wasn't like my performance helped us climb. No. I was helping us just maintain. So that's, I think, more pressure. Like, don't mess it up.
Yeah, and they all are a reminder that you can get through.
Absolutely.
You can get through no matter what is going on in your life. When you think you haven't gotten anywhere, you look at that and you're like, wow, I got this when XYZ was going on.
Yes.
It's that you made it through.
Yeah, one of these, I think it's over there, was fiscal year 2012 when I lost my grandmother, who had been such just a giant force in my life. And the idea that I could go through all that, her illness, as well as the loss and the grieving process, and not fall apart, because I had the support of my community. I had the tools. I had everything I needed to both grieve and persist. But not everybody has that. And right now, so many of us are grieving. Whether you're grieving the loss of people directly in your life or just the scope of the loss right now, you need to know you're not alone. You need to know you can get through, because a lot of times pain can get overwhelming, and having ways of talking about our pain can help it. Showing yourself that you can hurt, but things will get better. Like that's a huge gift that we can all give each other in our lives. Just checking in and saying, how are things going, and being honest. Like, I say to people sometimes, like, I'm doing as well as can be expected. Like, just keep it there. Like, and people get it. like they get it and they appreciate the honesty. Like I don't just give a route fine anymore. Like that's not where we're living. Like some days I'm like, I'm keeping on. I have a whole list of them.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not. I'm here.
What else can you do?
There's nothing else to do. No.
So yeah.
I love that about you, though. I love that. I love my Vicky. So you have your coaching business. So there's the coaching. Something's going on over here. So you have the coaching, and you have you also have a book coming out.
I think I printed out a thing, but it blew away. Yes. I had to cover
her to coach me. She ain't even got her thing together. She's got it together. It's
just kidding. It's here.
Wait, lift it up a little bit more. Pressure Makes Diamonds. Talk about your book, honey.
Well, I decided to pour some, because it's a short book. It's an easy read. You can't pour like decades of life into a book. I guess you can, but I don't want to read that. No, I didn't write that. Pressure Makes Diamonds, Simple Habits for Busy Professionals to Break Their Burnout Cycle for Good. And the expression Pressure Makes Diamonds is a quote attributed to a lot of different people. But essentially, I love it because of my background in chemistry. You know, a diamond is carbon, right? It's just been gone through intense heat, intense pressure, and it becomes this like ugly kind of sparkly rock. And it is taken out of the ground. And then a jeweler cuts facets into the diamond. And each time they cut the facet, when the same light that's been around the diamond streams through, it sparkles and shines and gets more interesting. And I feel like the diamond is an analogy for all of us working professionals who care. And we are formed by the pressure and the weight of our lives and experiences, but we have that sparkle. And by working to make those cuts and by pouring in knowledge and routines and things that support us and the things we value, we become that sparkly diamond. And I have one here, right? And no, this is not a real diamond. In case anyone's like, where's she live? This is a paperweight. But it helped me in the process to like really understand like what that is. So this book, just like it says, it's a few simple habits that you can integrate and potentially get new perspective, because that's what coaching is all about. Coaching isn't about, I have a magic wand, boom, you're fixed. Right? It's about helping you shift your perspective so that you can see what's possible in your life. So you can just unlock that unique you-ness that other people find sparkly and irresistible and just shines. And that's what lights me up, is every time my clients have that like aha moment. And I've trained myself, so I get them ahas as fast as possible, because it's for them, but it's also for me. Like that's how I enjoy my work.
Right.
Because if you're not moving forward, if you're not like, you come to coaching for progress. So I see it as my job to help you get that progress. If you're in and you're going to work, I'm here for it. I'm working as hard as you are, because that's when the magic happens in our lives. When we get that clarity,
definitely,
it just takes off. So that's I know you just asked about the book, but that's the impetus behind the book, is just because I can't coach everybody one-on-one, right? I can't coach the world, but I can share what I've learned. I can share what's working now for my professional clients who are out there in the world doing the thing, right? As much as like a lot of people feel the world is falling down, my clients are getting jobs. They're changing jobs. They're getting promotions. Depending on what pocket of corporate America you live in, things are going great or things are evolving. And as they evolve, you can be a part of that change, and you can really be intentional about how you experience life. And that's just thrilling once people realize what's possible, and then that they can act, that so much is within their realm if they just shift and look from this direction as opposed to over here where they were like.
That is so true. I like the way you put that because you can have one. Yeah, I like that. That's another way to put it. Because when I teach my classes at the end of, let's say, yoga, I'm like, I did not change your problem. I didn't solve your problem. I just changed the way you look at your problem. And I like the way you just did that, where you're like, here, pretty much, here's your problem. But instead of looking at it from here, look at it from here. I love that. And it's funny for me, I just realized, like, for me, it's like, look at me from here. Look at me from here.
Exactly,
But
right?
that's it, right? Like same person, same head, but you look at it from a different perspective and something changes.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of
Something
like
changes.
it's like anything. Like when you're getting ready for a big event, right? You
Yeah.
don't just look at yourself in one direction. You're checking all the angles, right?
Yes.
Male
Yes.
or female, you're checking all your angles.
Yes.
Like, how
Yes.
does it look over here, out of here? Look,
Hmm.
we don't do that with our work. We don't do that in our lives. We think people are just who we said they were when we first met them, or because of one instance, and we don't travel any further. And sometimes
Very true.
that can help be the game changer.
So true. So you're such a game changer. So we've got your book. We have, oh, what's the name of your company?
My company is Hepburn Coaching, and you can, and my website, victoriahepburn.com. I have a master class that I'm putting together, and I am
Oh,
inviting people to join just to get a little taste of what I am teaching, which is about getting your life back on track and with confidence move forward in your career journey. So it's not career specific advice per se. It's more about the energy and the mindset work that we all know we need to break out of the repetitive cycles. So at victoriahepburn.com/masterclass, you could sign up to join that webinar.
you're so
Yes.
good. You're so good. Um, she's she's like my fellow blurred
Yes.
blurs.
I'm here for all the sci-fi.
All the
I love it
sci-fi, honey.
all the sci-fi. Like I could never pick
All
when I
of
was
it.
growing up Star Trek versus Star Wars. I was like, both. Why choose? Like,
Why? Yeah, why? I never understood the or there. Why? That doesn't make
yeah,
sense. Like one or the other.
I
Why
can't
can't
lose. I can't lose Uhura, and I can't lose Lando Calrissian. You know, like
no?
I'm like I
You
can't
gotta
lose
have
Spock.
both.
I can't lose Princess Leia. Like
You
that
gotta
doesn't
have
make sense
both.
to me.
And besides, I was in love with Lando. Um, and so one last thing, let's talk about your podcast.
Okay, so that is the next way I'm trying to reach more people and just let people know you're not alone in this corporate
Yeah.
journey and this work journey. And that my podcast is called You Can Do Better Today. And it launches next month. And I'm super duper excited because that's my opportunity. It's really short, bite-sized, action-oriented chunks of information. So just what's working now to like calm the anxiety and the freak out or the rage that bubbles up when you get those emails from that person. Like no one
Yeah.
teaches us those things, right? They're just lessons you either learn or you just keep having your day disrupted. so,
Exactly.
so stuff like that, as well as uplifting stories about like good things that are happening, because I feel like there's a deficit of that in our like consciousness. So I want to bring more of that to the forefront as well about, positive things when people change, make the decision and take the action to change what's possible.
Just I love it. I can't wait for that. I'm going to make sure when I post this that I put up your for the webinar because that's going to be amazing. But I guess everybody who's looking at this, listening to this, can hear the inspiration, the motivation, the strength behind you, behind who you are, and just know that what she's doing and what she can give to you is above and beyond. Like, wow, it's above and beyond. And you know how to pull things out. That's what I love about you. It's you're not here to recreate people, you're here to help them understand who they actually are.
Yes. I was trained, and my one aunt always reminds me of a biblical story about the talents and how,
Favorite. Parable of the Talents, yes. I mean, and a great book, by the way, Octavia Butler. But
yes,
biblically. because
Yeah.
blurs, but
Blurs.
but biblically, yes, the parable of the talents is just.
You have to use what you got. I've got the gift of gab, this nerdy brain that loves to learn, and the ability to talk about big things simply. Like I don't need to tell you all the things I know. Like we need to learn from each other. Like that exchange. That's what it's all about for me.
So true. So true. Actually, now I'm thinking I might go back and read Parable of the Talents. Because huge, Parable of the Sower, talents, all that. So it's funny because usually towards the end of the conversation, I always have someone be like, "Oh, say something motivational, like some last words." Your whole thing is one big motivation. But what would you want to leave folks with today? Like your words, something that will either propel someone forward or something that you think uplifts, or just something I think people need to hear, even if it's tough love. Like, give me some last words. Give me one full minute or whatever of something that you really feel that people should hear from you.
Okay, so I'm going to borrow from my amazing grandmother. So anyone who ever knew Alice Groves, that's her name, will know this. Anyone who ever went to her school, worked with her, went to any of the community service events, she closed out. Everybody always wanted her to be the master of ceremonies because she knew how to roll with it and make it fun. And I inherited a little bit of that because I love talking to people in the same way. And she used to always close out events and different things with an amazing statement that I would love to share with you and the folks that have joined us, if that's okay.
Please do.
Okay. May the peace and love within me always be able to communicate with the peace and love within you. Amen. Ah, woman, thank you for this experience.
I love it. Go, Grandma.
It's amazing.
Alice Groves.
Yes.
Love it. I love the wisdom we got from our grandparents. You're facing this way, but on this wall over here, I call it my ancestor wall. I've got grandparents, great grandmothers, my dad. Like, it's an amazing array of just love and wisdom from over there.
Absolutely. And their stories. I'm blessed to have families both on my mom and my dad's side that know history, at least to like my great-great-grandparents. And hearing their stories, hearing what people went through, it put my stuff in perspective real quick. I was like, I have princess problems compared to that. They had existential crises on a regular basis. And they were able to persevere and break through, and with kindness, with love, with community. And it gives me hope for what's possible for all of us if we embrace each other. And because I don't know about you, this is just me, I've never won an argument yelling at someone.
No, you don't. Actually, you look crazy sometimes.
Exactly. Name calling never works for me. So I have to do what works for me. And what works for me is listening. What works for me is sharing my kindness, even if it's not shared with me. And I have to be me. I have to share with the universe that which I value in order to receive it back. So that's where I come from. And thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation.
It sure has been. Wait, you got one more thing. So you got it. I leave with an affirmation. I have my affirmation cards that I use every day. But today, on Sundays, you all choose the affirmation for the day. So give me a number between 1 and 10.
The folks. Come on, folks.
No, you.
Oh, me. Sorry.
You get to choose it.
I get to choose 8.
8 is okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Obviously, you can tell I am not good with cards. Oh, living Elysium, 6. Oh, she said 6. That's so funny. But I'll go back to 6 for a second. But you chose I Am Magic. Which, by the way, y'all know her T-shirt's always like, I sparkle, I glisten, I glitter.
No, but Latifah, in one of your workshops, I drew that card. You know that, right?
You did? Oh, please. Oh, hey. Oh, my God. How can I not know it's Alicia? Wait a minute. You chose 6. Hold on. I'm going to pick 6, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold
That's
on.
great.
Oh, 6 is I am grateful.
Oh, I am grateful.
So I am magic. Today we get a double. I love it. So the affirmations for the day. Oh my gosh. I am magic and I am grateful. Yes. Yes.
Pretty.
So, oh my God. I love you. You know I'll see you tomorrow. By the way, I train her, whooping her behind every day.
Yes.
So
I appreciate all of it.
yes, I know. We go back. I love you tremendously. I appreciate you. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing, every single thing. And I'm excited for just who you are as a human being and who you are as a blessing.
Thank you. I am so grateful to be in your circle, in your orbit, and to learn from you as well.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Motivated the motivator. Take care, baby. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Strong Chicks Rule. Yes. Take care, baby. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Bye.
Bye, babe.